Welcome to CWFalcons.com. We're joined today by baseball head coach Val Kuiper as we preview the Falcons getting ready for the 6-team NAC tournament here at Capco Park. Coach, before we get into that NAC tournament, let's start with a general assessment of the season. A slow start with a difficult schedule in Florida, but the team has done enough in conference play, which included 2 wins on Saturday. What's your general assessment of this young team and how they responded this season?
Young is right, and I think that the one thing we stress with these kids all year is just, every game's a learning experience, every day is a learning experience, and we had probably 250 returning at bats from last year, and for these kids to grow up, and they did. They grew up down in Florida, and we suffered through a couple of injuries early, and once we're able to stabilize our defense a little bit, you can kind of see how the pitching rose to the forefront like we thought it would, and then if we can play defense like we have recently, I think we'll be just fine.
Now Saturday, you hosted Marian University here in a doubleheader. You knew you needed one win would probably get you in a sweep, would get you that 5th seed, and you come out and get 2 incredible pitching performances, shut them out of a doubleheader. Talk about that game and how your team just handled the pressure on Saturday.
Well, the one thing is, I don't think they felt any pressure at all because, it's been that way all year. They were young, they knew they were going to learn. The pressure was on everybody else. It wasn't on us. What were we picked, like 8th, I think, preseason? Mm-hmm. We weren't even supposed to be here, so I don't think they felt the pressure that way at all. What really has helped solidify it was the ability to play Danny Miller at shortstop. I think we figured out there were probably 4, 5, or 6 plays that he made Saturday that were consistent plays, nothing spectacular, but very consistent, that really set the tone defensively. And those were 2 defensive games Saturday. If you saw, I don't think there were any extra base hits, and it was just all about pitching and defense.
Now, one of the pitchers through the first game, complete game, his 6th of the season, was Andrew Miller. He's been the ace of the staff all year. How important is it to have that guy that not only gives you a chance to win any time out, but goes deep into the game every time he throws?
With a young pitching staff, deep is very important. And I think with Andy, what it is with him is he doesn't walk a lot of batters, he doesn't give us extra hits, and when we can play defense behind him, he's as good as anybody because he can control the action. And teams don't get a lot of good swings off him, I don't think, and stuff. So the deep in games is very important for us.
And then another pitcher who's been incredibly important is Tyler Adams, who through that 2nd game, he started 3 different games during that week. He started at Concordia, Chicago, he started against Carthage, and then he gives you 8 shutout innings against Marian. That's got to be just another important thing. You mentioned the young staff, to have a guy that, give me the ball and I'll go out there and give you what I got.
He had at least, I think there are probably more in there to be figured out, the 13 consecutive shutout innings. And he's not a power pitcher by any means, but he's a fighter. And you saw, I think, at least 2 situations. One with 1 out, he battled through a bases loaded situation. And then with 2 outs, he did the same thing and handled those things. He's grown up, he's a smart kid. He handled an early break move from first base with a pickoff move. He handled just the way we teach it, in a game. And I guess for an actuarial science major, that's what you'd expect him to play smart, and that's what he did. So that's been really helpful to us.
And then a 3rd pitcher, and obviously you have a lot of guys who have stepped up this season, but the 3rd guy who stepped up late has been Ty Wester. How has he been able to grow? And he's really been the relief pitcher you guys have been looking for to come in, shut you down. I think he's picked up 2 wins over the last 2 weeks, a save. What's been his growth this season?
Well, health is probably the biggest thing with him. He came in with an uncertain shoulder, and then we dealt with him very, tentatively, and we let him grow and let him experience and try to put him in positive situations. And the one thing with Tyler is he's very consistent with his workout regime. He works to get his body in shape, but I think once he found confidence in himself and his body, the team certainly rallied behind him, and he's been a big addition to us at the end of the year here. So.
And now you mentioned him once already, at Daniel Miller, the lone senior on the team. Been very important not only in the lineup as your leadoff hitter. He's played first base, he's played shortstop,
second base.
He's played all over the field. How important has it been to have that senior leader, both what he does on the field, but how he leads this team off the field as well?
He's not a rah-rah guy. If you know Daniel, it always kind of laid back and things like that. And he's not the kind of guy that'll pull everybody together, but he leads by example. And there's not a player on this team that hasn't learned the game by watching him. He knows how his pedigree, his background. He knows the game, and that to me has been the most important thing. We figured out he's hit about 60 points higher this year than he's hit in any year, and usually with seniors you don't get that kind of production, but Daniel's, he stepped up, he's accepted the role, and I think the players have certainly rallied around it.
And another player that's come up big this season has been Joel Sharon. Kind of moved him around the lineup. Seems like you've settled in on a spot for him. But just talk about him and his importance to this lineup and what he does for your team.
Well, he's a perfect, I think, four hitter, because he doesn't care, and we jokingly called him, and he wouldn't take offense to it, we called him kind of like a dumb hitter. And what that means is he doesn't worry about the count, he doesn't worry about the circumstances. The world around him, it doesn't matter to him, and he's perfect in that four-hole situation because he doesn't try to change who he is. He's been extremely valuable for us in driving the ball, extra base hits. There's not a pitch out there that he can't hit, I think, and stuff. And so it's been a great find for us after coming off, I think, 15, 20 at-bats last year as a freshman, and then him just stepping into that role big time.
Well, that tournament obviously will be played here at Capco Park, where you have played 25 of 31 games since returning from Florida, 18 of 22 in conference play. What has that advantage been for this team this season to know that we're going to be able to play pretty much no matter what the weather is outside of heavy rain?
Yeah. I think it's been the consistency. We haven't had to bunch up 5 doubleheaders in a row in consecutive days. It's given the players a chance to learn the game. Like with a young team, if you start bunching things in together, I think like that, they get fatigue and you get everything else. But now they've been able to play on a consistent basis and even practice on a consistent basis. I think that to me has been huge for us because we've been able to just not bunch things together. We've been really consistent with the games on the weekend, a game or two during the week, and it's been a lot of fun for those kids. We were talking about it on the bus coming back last night, the fact that we played all those games at home. We know the field, we know how it's going to react to it, and I think they've done a nice job.
All right, now we mentioned that all the home games, but the 4 road games in the conference tournament were against the top 2 teams in this tournament, Concordia, University of Chicago, and Benedictine, which is your opponent on Thursday. They were able to sweep you a few weeks ago. Give us a little scouting report on them and what you need to do to give yourself a chance against that 2 seed Thursday.
Not going to take anything away from Benedictine. They're a very good team, and Coach Ostrowski's done a nice job with them. They're a solid lineup, at least 1 through 7, maybe even all the way down the lineup when it comes from an offensive standpoint. But on that day, we think we lost, 7-1, 9-1, something like that. It was a tough day the day before. We had to use pitchers in a way we weren't ready for, so who knows how it's going to turn out tomorrow. But it was just one of those days where we felt there were a lot of ground balls that went through for them, and ground balls didn't go through for us. We had one situation where a ground ball went through the second baseman's leg, hit him in the heel, the back underneath his glove, bounced right out in front of him. He picked it up and threw us out. We had another line driver too, hit right at the outfielders with the bases loaded. So they didn't go for us that day. Who knows what tomorrow will bring? But this young squad has certainly been enthusiastic, and we're looking forward to the opportunity.
All right, well, the Northern Athletics Conference Tournament will begin here tomorrow at Capco Park. First game is scheduled for 10 a.m. The Falcons won't play until 4 o'clock when they take on second-seeded Benedictine University. Coach, thanks for joining us today, and good luck in the tournament.
Thank you, Brett.